Is the 8th of January 2024, our first meeting in the year 2024. So thank you for joining us. Ms. Lemon, will you call roll for us, please?
Director Azari?
Present.
Director Bentley?
Present.
Director Campos-Spitzy? Director Mesh?
Present.
Director Matthews?
Present.
Director Norwood?
Present.
Director Sullivan?
Present.
6 board members present.
Thank you, Ms. Lemon. Well, as we have discussed, and I think this is our first time. I honestly can't remember if we did this the last meeting in January or December or not. But we're moving our board member comments and reports back into the work session. We tried that for a year, putting that in the business meeting, and there were some benefits to that. But also, people felt like we lost some of the conversation, the natural conversation that happens when we're kind of sitting around like this and can see each other a little bit better. And so we'll put our board member comments and reports here. And I know we haven't done a lot probably since our last board meeting, as our schools have been, we haven't had any school visits anyway. But I will start. Ms. Sullivan, if you want to lead off.
I just enjoyed the break with some family and just letting this cough kind of linger around, and I'm ready to kick it to the curb, but ready to get going back with the school and get back to some of these meetings and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Norwood.
Well, it was nice to have a little bit of a break. It's good to get back to work. Look forward to, now we got the stretch run. So it's nice to get the stretch run and start doing the school visits and getting a chance to get out and see some of the schools. And last thing I just want to do is I just want to wish Elvis Presley a happy 89th birthday.
All right. Mr. Bentley.
Yeah, same. I just enjoyed the holiday. I think the only event that we had was the special assembly for Caleb Flores to receive the Milken Award. So that was pretty special to be invited to and attend. It was kind of a big deal, it sounds like. So other than that, just it's pretty low key for the holidays, and excited just gonna get back on the grind, and busy schedule coming up. So exciting time of the year.
Mr. Azari.
Same as everyone else. Nice time away, nice opportunity to spend with family when your kids grow up and are adults, to see the holidays through their eyes as young adults and remember what that was once like. So it was really a fun time. Also, congratulations again to Caleb for receiving that award. And looking forward to this next semester. It's always exciting coming back. It's great. Thanks.
Ms. Mesh.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed my break. My son turned 16, and so he has been driving all over town. We gave him like a full tank of gas, and I'm pretty sure it's gone. So he's on his own now, but that was pretty exciting for our family. I am a New Year's resolution person, and usually I don't follow my resolutions very well, but I don't know, it feels a little different this year. I think I've just, probably since COVID, just don't feel like I've taken great care of myself, like probably haven't done the best managing stress and things like that. So I just, even after a week of my new resolutions, I'm like, I feel good, okay. And then I'll have to hear from Natalie, but my daughter's a senior, so there's a little letdown yesterday where she was like, oh, I have to, and not that she's not excited for her semester, but just, I have, additional applications and auditions and things like that. So, but then just from a parent personal perspective, she's needing to gather some letters of recommendation, and her counselor at Greeley Central just wrote the most beautiful letter. I was like crying through the whole thing. It just was so amazing that she really understood my daughter. I was like, well, when you need a biography written, maybe you have Miss Dillon do it, because it was really beautiful. And she interviewed a bunch of Cecily's teachers and kind of like brought this really, I guess, holistic picture. And it was just, it's really, I think that is our goal, and I hope that we do it frequently, where our students really feel seen and known and understood, and then therefore guided, to be their best selves. So I really appreciate the staff at Greeley Central and their service to my children. So.
Thank you, Ms. Nash. Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. It is nice to have, when you have children that are away, have them home and that's always fun, and just to have the time together, and there's not quite as much going on. And, but yeah, starting today, everything gets back going again, and there are a lot of applications to get done. Trying to think back in December, do want to congratulate Caleb Flores. That's just an incredible award. If anybody missed that, it's a national award that he won. Nobody is told what's happening. They just gather everybody at Greeley West, which is where Caleb teaches. Gathered them all together. Nobody in the audience knew what was happening, besides I think the people that had to know. I think just Dr. Pilch and a couple of other people probably, and they come in and make a big presentation. And so it was, and comes with I got 20,000, 25,000. Very nice award that Caleb got. So that, and then I got to see Mr. Azari, and got to guest conduct at the Central Orchestra and guest conduct Sleigh Ride, which is always a fun song to do anyway. And so get to see him back at Central, where I watched him for a long time. But, yeah, congratulations on getting to do that, Mr. Azari.
It was quite an honor. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's all I've got. So we're on to calendar and review. As several people have mentioned, our calendar does get pretty busy this time of year. So Success in 6 awards. We do have I should go back one. We have a work session, and that's at 11 a.m. That's earlier than our work sessions normally. This is a lengthy work session. We will be doing some team building type activities and digging more into roles of board members, and some of just continuation of some of the things that we did at CASB. Brett Miles will be coming again to lead that for us. So that's at 11 a.m. on. We're doing that at the Link on the 22nd, but we will be back here later that day for our business meeting. Then on the 25th, that's 2 weeks from today on a Monday, and then on the Thursday, the Success in 6 awards. Those are always really fun awards to see teachers get recognized, and it's a fun night, and that's at the Ames Welcome Center. Then gap graduation, we have a school visit to Brentwood on the 1st, and then nothing else on our agenda until the next board meeting. And I'll stop right there. Well, one more that I want to draw your attention to is on the 22nd, the Chamber annual dinner. I think that's a Thursday night as well. So if you can make that, that's always, am I correct on that? It's 22nd, a Thursday.
Back to the future theme.
Do what?
Back to the future themed.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Oh, I missed that bit of information. That should be fun. And we'll stop there. Anything that gets us up to February 22nd? Anything else in there that maybe is not on there on our calendar we need to be aware of, know about? All right. Well, that'll conclude our calendar review and community engagement. We're on to our preliminary graduation data. And Dr. Pilch can't join us tonight. She's feeling under the weather, but we do have Mr. Asmus here to do that, as well as Mr. Lemos. So invite you guys to come. All right, guys. Well, whenever you're, I don't know who's starting, Mr. Asmus?
Yeah, I'll start.
All right.
So,
give it to you.
Good afternoon, I guess, President Matthews and members of the board. So we just wanted to get together with you tonight and just share an update on the graduation rates for this year. Now, the graduation rates will come out publicly tomorrow, so we wanted you to have this information tonight, just so that you had it and had any speaking points in case you would need that. I'm not sure if this
Your
is
microphone on.
so that you had any information, any talking points. We're gonna share microphones. with you all. So, this is not an official Innovation 2030 update like you might get. This is just an update on graduation rates. However, we'll go pretty in-depth tonight just to let you understand where we've been and kind of where we're going. And then we'll do a more in-depth presentation in February. So, like always, start with our mission, our vision. We engage every student in a personalized, well-rounded, and excellent education in our district, and it's really important for us that every single child is successful, and we do all this so that they can graduate on time. We know every child can achieve in our values, and another one that is directly related to this work is that we are committed to excellence, innovation, and continuous improvement. These are our 4 focus areas. This is really big work for us, and graduation rates touch all 4 of these focus areas. But it really lives under student learning and achievement, and our first goal for this is to provide a personalized learning experience so all students graduate on time. And we say all, and we have a goal in our Innovation 2030 plan of 90% of our students will graduate by 2030, and that's our target. Our strategy is to align our systems. When we say align our systems, this is everything we do inside our district to align our systems so that every student gets what they need to graduate on time and be career or college ready. And then also to increase student engagement in our career pathways and respond to industry, business, and community needs. I also just want to start with some gratitude. I want to recognize by starting with our school-based teams for all the work they put in. I know that they meet monthly with me to go through every single student and make sure that every student that is off track has a plan, and every student that is on track is pushed to their greatest potential. And then I'll just to thank you all here, the Board of Education and Dr. Pilch, for just putting this work in our strategic plan and pushing this on us and allowing us the opportunity to achieve our goals at high levels. So jump 2, there we go. So we are here tonight to really share the news regarding our recent graduation rates, reflecting the resilience and the commitment of our students and the support system that we have in our district. As very competitive people in this district, when we have a dip in data, we rally and we really go back after this because it is something that we are determined to achieve that goal of 90%. Last year, we achieved an impressive graduation rate of 84.6%. And this year, we maintained a very strong rate of 83.7%. 83.7 is this year's goal. While this does represent a slight decrease, it's important to note that the numerical difference equates to only 14 students. So when you think about the entire students, and that's why we say when we focus on every student and every student matters, this is why we're 14 students lower than we were last year at this time. These numbers are part of a broader success story as we experience an overall increase in graduates, making it our largest graduating class to date, which this class did have to overcome COVID barriers and also found a new way to welcome new students to our country and to our district. Regardless of the barriers, our students and staff are relentless. We are delighted to announce a remarkable 90.4% 6-year graduation rate. So although we had a slight decline in the on-time graduation rate, we had a major increase in the 6-year on-time graduation rate. So when students are not graduating on time for whatever reason, we know who they are, we hold on to them, we ensure that they're graduating on time with their diploma or with their GED. This graph shows this graph from the state shows where we are at 83.7, down from the 84.6 last year. But if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, this shows the completion rate in a 6-year cycle of 90.4%, which is a celebration.
So if you look at this graph, it's broken down by school. And this is very similar to previous years. Just to note, I serve as the district liaison for the charter schools, and you'll see that the charter schools are on here. Our charter schools depend on our support for students who may get off track with credits. So in instances where students face challenging or meeting the graduating on time deadlines, they typically return to their home school or enroll in one of our acceleration programs. And we really stay in close contact with our charter schools and offer alternatives for their students to get caught up. We share our District 6 resources to ensure all students have the opportunity to graduate on time. And right now, Jefferson High and Gap are typically the landing spot for students that are off track for all of our schools, including our charter schools. Many times students come to Jefferson or Gap well off track, so they may need more than 4 years to graduate. So the completion after 6 years, knowing that 90.4% of our kids are getting there in 6 years, is pretty phenomenal work we're doing.
And you'll notice these percentages are relatively close to last year. So as we reflect on the challenges of the class of 2023, it's important to acknowledge the profound impact that COVID-19 had on this class. When these students were freshmen, their academic year was cut short due to the pandemic, disrupting the usual learning environment and creating obstacles. Despite our best efforts to reach every student, some were just not accessible, and the closure made it impossible to bring students together in that one-on-one setting. It also brought an end to summer school for that year, which a lot of our freshmen rely on to get caught back up after their freshman year. During their sophomore year, we remained open for instruction during the pandemic. However, the implementation of a 2-day schedule hampered our ability to provide the intensive support and remediation some students needed. So these unique circumstances of the pandemic forced us to adapt quickly. We found ways to meet students where they were. We offered online support, paper and pencil supports, and even small group support as needed around the COVID restrictions. We closed the gap for a great number of students and got them back on track, but this was not easy work. Through dedicated efforts, we successfully recovered numerous credits, working tirelessly to bridge the gaps created by these disruptions. Despite our collective efforts, we acknowledge that some students in this graduating class needed an extra year to complete their degree, thereby lowering our on-time graduation rate just a bit. So I say it again, like many of the students that were unable to get caught up during the school year just needed a little bit extra that 5th year, and that did lower our graduation rate just a bit.
So as you all know, right now we have quite a few people coming into the country, and we have quite a few new arrivals. So I wanted to take a moment to share the proactive steps our school district is taking to support students who arrive with limited or no educational experience, but still ensuring that every student receives the assistance needed to be successfully academically doing well. And also, we're receiving more students than usual that come to us at age 16, 17, or 18 with limited or no educational experience or credits. Since last year, at this time, we've had 68 students have come to us at ages 16, 17, or 18 with interrupted, limited, or no educational background. We recognize the challenges in meeting the traditional 4-year graduation timeline, but we have implemented comprehensive support services to address the unique needs. And part of that is collaboration with the LFS navigators, CLD newcomer advocates, the IRC, Sunrise, and really being intentional academically to really make sure that they are getting the language services that they need in order to access the curriculum. Our commitment to inclusivity and student success goes beyond conventional expectations, understanding that individual learning journeys may vary from student to student. For those who require additional time and assistance, we're very proud to offer extended support programs that accommodate a 5 to 6 year graduation plan. This approach allows us to tailor educational experiences to the specific needs of each student, providing resources and guidance for them to succeed at their own pace. Our dedicated team of educators and support staff work collaboratively with these students, ensuring they have access to personalized learning resources, mentorship, counseling services, and we do this by fostering an environment that values individual growth and progress. We aim to empower every student to achieve their academic goals regardless of their starting point. So we really are very prideful in saying that we're very diverse and we offer a continuum of services that meet the needs of multiple backgrounds. And I think we are staying true to what our commitment is in valuing diversity within the education here in D6.
So we're excited to share news about our next step in our Innovation 2030 planning. We have partnered with the National Freshman Success Institute out of Chicago, aimed at providing support for our freshmen and fostering their academic success. We recognize there are challenges faced by freshmen across the country and in our district, and we've embarked on an innovative initiative to implement targeted freshman support plans for each school. Our freshman success planning teams at each comprehensive high school have been meeting monthly to design plans to address the unique needs of our diverse population, with a particular focus on freshmen who might be grappling with that transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, and that all this freedom that the freshmen feel when they come to the high school. Our goal is to not only improve the immediate success rates of our freshmen, but also create sustainable programs to free up resources of continual remediation. We know that when students fail classes their freshman year, it takes time and effort during the summer to get them caught up, and your sophomore year as a freshman, you are taking sophomore classes and freshman classes. And so our goal is to close that gap for freshmen and support them and have an intentional plan at each high school to close those gaps. And right now we currently have about a 20% failure rate. It's a little higher. It's probably higher if you're on an IEP or if you're a language learner. Our goal is to cut that down to 10% next year. So a 10% failure rate as of next year. This is a plan that we have not had maybe a focused plan for freshmen, so we're developing that this year, and next year will be the first year of a rollout. And that falls under the Innovation 2030 work.
Does the failure rate mean they fail at least one class?
At least one class.
Okay.
And as I mentioned before, we have a full continuum of services for all students, depending on where they're at in their own journey. And it would be wrong if I didn't talk or mention our amazing support system for students that fall off track. Jefferson Junior High supports our freshmen when they get off track their first year and help them get caught back up very quickly. Jefferson High School supports our sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And at Jefferson High, each quarter is a semester providing ample opportunity for students to catch up and many times graduate early. In addition, our Greeley Evans Alternative Program, or GAP, provides an environment where students can work at their own pace to earn credits around work schedules and other barriers to traditional learning. They offer a morning, afternoon, and evening shift to accommodate students' needs, and the dedication and commitment of the teachers, staff, and leaders in those schools is unparalleled.
So let's share some disaggregated data with you all. So here's a graph depicting the increase in graduation rates from 2017. As you'll notice, in 2017, we're at 78.7%, and we have put some good systems in place to show an increase over the years. 84.6% last year, 83.7%, as we said, that's 14 students fewer than last year, but still above the state average of 83.1. And when you look at the major upward trajectory that we have here, we're definitely on the right track.
We look at the slides that show our graduation rate for students with disabilities compared to the state. Around 2018, we implemented our special education plan, which focused on getting students in the classroom and supporting them as they received grade level instruction. Also, around the same time, we implemented co-teaching, which put another teacher in some core classes for students needing extra support. And as you can see, higher levels of rigor with the right support show significant improvement in academic achievement and graduation rates. The next slide is around students with limited English proficiency. This graph compares our limited English proficiency students to the state average. As you can see, we're above that. Shortly before our special education plan was developed, we implemented a master plan for English language learner success, which focused on instructional strategies supported by our partners at WestEd. We also started to use our CLD teachers as co-teachers to support students within the classroom, and they'd get grade level instruction. This led to greater student engagement, student academic discourse, and growth each year for these scholars. This graph captures our highest growth yet in graduation rates for our limited English proficiency students, and considering the students that we are serving and the students that are coming into the community, with what I talked about earlier, this is a phenomenal feat that we just did. This is the highest we've ever been in the district, so there's a lot to be proud of here that we're still doing this.
This graph compares our economically disadvantaged to the state average. Our shift to an inclusive mindset, co-teaching, access to rigorous instruction, and solid instructional strategies showed gains in this subgroup as well. We are definitely going the right way, and this data boasts the largest difference between our rate and the state. It is important to note that our overall free and reduced lunch rate for our district is 71%. The state average for free and reduced lunch is 40%. With this perspective, this is an amazing piece of data. This data compares our students of color to the state average in this category. The past few years, we have intentionally focused our efforts on becoming more culturally responsive, which has shown higher student engagement, greater satisfaction, and significant gains in graduation rate for our students of color. This work has improved communication with students and families around the importance of graduation and an overall school-wide appreciation of diversity. Currently, 71% of our district is classified as a student of color. Our last slide to show you is our for the graduation information is our dropout rate. So this is our only district data as a subgroup. Oh, I take that back. Just kidding. The last set of data I'll share is our dropout rate. As you can see in 2017, the state and the district were at 2.3%. Overall, we have a declining trend in dropout rates since 2017, and this year we're at 1.9%. As a district, we spend considerable amount of time building relationships with students and families in an effort to keep them in school. I think you can see the last couple of years where COVID impacted the dropout rate just a little bit and seems to be getting back on track now, back under 2%. And lastly, we'll share with you just our next steps. We are starting our work right now, our planning stages for our freshman support programs to reduce our freshman failure rate to 10% or less. Right now, we just seem like we're chasing our tail. So our freshmen have a larger failure rate than we like, and we're always just trying to catch up sophomore year, junior year, senior year. So our goal is to cut that off at their freshman year and support them and put some really solid plans in place. So later on in February, we'll share a little bit of those plans from the schools when we do the actual update. We'll continue our monthly meetings to support each student and ensure that they are on the correct spot. So if a student does fall behind, that they can move into an acceleration program, or we even can put them into our credit recovery system on site so that they get that automatic or that immediate support that they need. Our goal is to keep our students at our traditional high schools. Our goal is not to have them go to an acceleration program of any sort. So we can catch them early, get them caught up. We will have them stay at the schools. If not, we do have systems in place, and we know every student matters. And we'll continue to have that lead our work. That's a lot of information, so just appreciate that, and I know you have access to this, and so feel free to reach out later with any questions that you might have. But we're ready to take any questions you might have right now.
All right, board members, you can just jump in. No buzzers here.
Can you talk briefly, if you can? I mean, I'm not wanting to put you guys on the spot or anything, but the Freshman Success Institute of Chicago, that's new, of course, to me. So.
Yep.
What's that all about?
So they've done a lot of research over the years, and I've actually read a couple of their research articles and presentations, and they started many years ago because in Chicago their failure rate was super low, and so they put systems in place knowing that when a ninth grader is really more like an eighth grader, not a true sophomore or junior or senior. So how do we make ninth grade look more like eighth grade? And so when the whole system of the school system of Chicago put these systems in place, they saw a dramatic decrease in the number, or they saw actually an increase in graduation rates and a decrease in dropouts. And so they found that just that work around freshmen and supporting freshmen paid off for them. And they also said they found some financial savings too. When you're their sophomore year, they're not spend so much time and money and effort to try to get them caught up in remedial courses. So I'm taking geometry as a sophomore, but I also have to take Algebra 1 over. So that's a lot. That's a lot for a student, and eventually it just catches up with you and you get to a dropout.
Does this filter back in some way to the eighth grade level in our school district for preparing eighth graders for that next transition to ninth, and then the institute's work?
Yeah,
that's what I'm envisioning.
So part of this work will be our counselors counselors at the ninth grade level working with our eighth grade counselors to make sure that we're on the same page, that our transitions programs reflect that work that we do. We continue that we do this now, but even stronger. How do we look at those students in 8th grade that are going to need support in 9th grade, and how do we wrap around those students right away the first day or the first week or the first month of their freshman year? So we know we have enough data. We have 10 years of data to know who's failing when they come to our high schools. How do we use that data? How do we create a support system to make sure that these students are successful their first year?
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
You might not have this answer right now either, but I was curious about our AVID students and their graduation rate. I know there's a few of our elementary schools that do AVID from kindergarten through 5th. I definitely think my kids were lacking in some of their study skills and organization and things like that. So I'm curious if you have any idea where that.
Yeah, I have a senior as well that lacks an organization, and so part of the work that we're doing is how do we take those AVID skills from those AVID classes and broaden that out so that all of our students, all of our freshmen, know how to use a planner, how to stay organized with their work, how to communicate with their teacher. A lot of students are just sometimes they're just too proud or too shy to ask for help or assistance. So how do we give them those skills? And so we want to take those AVID strategies that are in those AVID classes and just expand them throughout the whole freshman class.
How does the graduation data for the online and Jefferson High compare this year versus the year before?
They're very similar. So online was about that last year. I think this is an increase from last year. So I think they're at 70% last year and about 78% this year. So that's increasing, and they're getting their students in the right spot. They're doing great work there. And then the Jefferson is always really around that 55%. And we just have to recognize that when students are off track at a traditional school or a charter school, they go to Jefferson. So these are kids that might somehow get a year behind, 2 years behind. They work really hard to get them caught up, but that's a 4-year total. If you look at their 5-year and 6-year total, it's Jefferson and Gap that keep our students the 5th year and the 6th year to help them graduate, and that's reflected in the 90% 6-year rate. So kudos to Jefferson and to Gap on that.
Our limited English proficiency students, you took like a 3.5% jump. What do you attribute that to?
I think, we've done a really good job with implementing our master plan for Yale success. We're getting a lot of students and working, with just the teachers really understanding the importance that, they need to have access to grade level content. They also need support, so they understand the can-do descriptors, understand what those scaffolds look like. So our instructional models are really helping support the teachers. But then there's also the next added step, which is what we know as the holistic approach to students that are coming new to the country. They face some, obstacles, obviously, just coming into an American system. I mean, we have some students that have never been in educational setting, so they may have asylee status. And so we really have to make sure that we help them acclimate to a new country, and so we work with their families through the Family Center. We work with their families through parent advocates. Just a lot of things that we do. We work with organizations and collaborate, as you know, outside of the school district, but are just good partners in meeting the needs of students that are new arrivals to the country. And I use the word new arrivals because there's multiple tags within that. There's a migrant, there's immigrant, there's newcomers, there's asylees, there's SIFE, which is students with interrupted formal education that haven't been in school for a while, as I mentioned before. So it's really that holistic approach of really saying, hey, we have to meet the educational pieces, which include the academia and the language proficiency, because in Colorado and in the United States, we are assessed through WIDA, meaning that we have to make sure that they're making progress through language acquisition. So with that piece, with the student directly, we also have to work with the families. And we also have to have partners that can help us fill those gaps with areas that we can't fill through the school system. So it's truly holistic, and it's pretty awesome what we've been able to do. We have a lot to be proud of with the work we're doing, and we do get asked quite a bit about what are you doing in Greeley? How can we replicate what you're doing? I think it's a testament to our leadership and saying we want to be open arms and welcome folks and say, hey, everyone's entitled to a great education.
Any other questions? If you could go back to the slide on the 6-year graduation rate again. I just didn't catch how you said that it went up. I didn't catch how much that went up.
Close your eyes till I get there if you can't handle motion. So on this slide, this shows our 6-year completion rate, so 90%, 90.4%. So we're talking fewer than, so you graduate in 2021, but let's say you didn't graduate in 2021. We know who you are. We keep you. And after 5 years, 89.5% of our students. So typically, you see the largest increase at that 5th year. Then you see that 1 extra year, but there are some students who need that 6th year, and then you see even the increase higher than the 89%. That 6th year. So we know who those students are. We keep them engaged. We keep them focused. And sometimes we lose a student that drops out, and we still go after those students, and we find out who they are. We try to get them back. And even after 5 years and 6 years, we try to get them back, and we try to help them finish so they have some kind of a degree or diploma, because we know that's just so valuable. And it's without that, it's just a little tougher than when you're compared to a student that does have a diploma of some sort or a GED.
But what was it before? So it's 90.4. What was
This is the highest it's been. It's always been in the mid to the 87, 88. I'll share the complete set of data with you, and you can look back over the years. But you'll see an increase in the last 5 years. You'll see an increase in the 5-year and 6-year graduates too. And I think part of that is just due to our focus on every student.
So what's the difference between graduation rate and completion rate?
Graduation rate is your diploma in 4 years, your traditional time. Your completion rate is you finish your diploma or your GED, some sort of a degree in 6 years. So you completed your GED or you completed the coursework for your diploma.
Okay, so like where it says 4-year rate, 83.7% and then 85.6%.
Mhm.
So 85.6% end up getting their GED
Mhm.
still within 4 years, but they
Yep.
didn't maybe walk across the stage.
Yep. So let's go to 2021. 84.1 was our graduation rate. 85.8 was our completion rate. That's a combination of students that received their diploma and their GED or their GED.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And so then the next year we held on to students, and so we added another 4 percentage points
Mhm.
on there, and then we continued even after 6 years. We added more to that list.
Okay, gotcha. Is also really encouraging. I mean, all of our 3 traditional high schools were at least 90%.
Right.
And it's very similar, and our goal is to always increase this. And part of our work this year has been, there are some students in here that we have lost, and how do we go back and find them? Your cohort starts in 7th grade, so there are a number of students in our district, especially with the high poverty and the mobility. There are some students that just disappear, and we don't know where they are. And so we spend time every single year trying to capture those students and bring them back or find out where they are in our cohort. So let's say I'm a 7th grader, and I'm here for the first part of this year, and then I go back to Mexico, but I don't tell anybody, or I go here, I go to this state or that state. They're still on our cohort until we can track them down. And if we can never track them down, then it goes down as a dropout for us as a district. Goes down as a you did not complete your 4-year degree on time because we lost you. So we spend time looking at students that this year we go back into 7th grade, and we've tried to find, okay, so where'd these kids go? Let's I know the trail's cold, but can we go back and find them? And every year we go down to every single kid before we certify, and can we find them or can we not?
And that's what our attendance advocates help with?
Yep, attendance advocates typically help with a lot of that work, and our partnership with Zero Dropouts.
Do we have students still that graduate early?
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any figures on that, or do they figure in?
They figure into this, and so when a student graduates early, we try. Sometimes they just want to graduate and be done. They still count as an on-time graduate. A lot of times they finish early, and so we encourage them to take college classes that are funded through our MLO. And so we don't always just, okay, you're done, you go. Now you could take 2 or 3 classes or more at Ames or at UNC or somewhere else, and they're still enrolled with us as a 4-year student. And so that's the path we'd like them to go down is to enroll in a college, enroll in something, and let us support you with that as still a full-time student with us.
Good to know. Thanks.
Just like to say that I know this went down to, we had it was just kind of it's a class we've been watching, and we knew that very freshman year when we couldn't bring them back in as freshmen that summer in the summer school, and the next year we were limited on the amount of time that we could come back together. The numbers were lower, but just kudos to all of our schools, and it's a credit to our system and how we track down students and bring them back in, that we are able to only have 14 students fewer than last year. Back on track for next year and looking at getting closer to our 90%.
So are those 14 all planning to stay?
The 14 are in a 5-year.
Yeah.
So I think we have all 14 in our system, and
Great.
they're still working on some kind of diploma, whether in our GED program or in our 5th year probably at Jefferson or at Gap.
Any other questions, Mr. Asmus, Mr. Linus?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
thank you
just
both.
continually appreciate your support on our work.
We appreciate your work. Thank you for bringing this, and thanks for all the work.
Oh, I have one more question. Sorry.
Yeah, go
Can our online students do a 5th year online, or or do they need to now come to Gap?
We try not to have our 5th year students in our traditional schools. And so once you get to that point, we would like you to be in an acceleration school. And so how can we accelerate your learning rather than try to be on the traditional pace? And so we work with them on a more accelerated pace to finish, because eventually they're going to run out of resiliency, and they just I'm just tired of going through this step. And so how can I move at my own pace? A lot of times students, when they are in a 5th year or 6th year, something happened when you were in such a high poverty district. Sometimes you just need work. In Gap, for example, we offer 3 shifts in the morning, the afternoon, and the evening. And so they're taking, maybe they come into our 4 to 8 o'clock session at night because they have to work during the day. And so we just offer flexibility and acceleration when you get to your 5th year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Yep. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our legislative update. So I'd like to invite Mr. Fall to come and join us.
All right. Thank you, President Matthews, members of the board. My name is Nate Fall. I am legal counsel for the school district, and I am here to give you a legislative update. It is that time of year. This will be the only slideshow that I'll be giving to the board. I'll be doing my handouts for the rest of the year, but just because we're going to keep it really high level today, just go over the process, as well as a couple of the major topics that we'll be kind of looking forward to this upcoming legislative session. I do just want to encourage the board to be as engaged in the legislative process as much as you can be. Certainly, if there's any bills that come forward to the board or anything that you're really curious about, please let me know and I can do some research and give some information back to the board. I will say that the General Assembly doesn't start until this Wednesday, January 10th, so there aren't any bills for us to review at this time. However, I have seen already a number of draft bills that we'll be looking towards. So this is something I'm very interested in and something that certainly impacts District 6 to a significant degree. We were able to be involved with a few bills last year and substantially revise some of the bills that were introduced last year through the legislative process that would have had some pretty big impacts and implications for District 6. So I think this process is really important, and of course your involvement is extremely important as well, just such that we can have a voice in the state of Colorado. So just as a short roadmap, we'll be going over a few key terms. We'll talk a little bit about lobbying. We'll talk about who are the legislators here in Greeley School District 6 that we can work with, as well as a few of the big topics, and then I'll leave some time for questions and comments at the end if you have any. So this is just my annual Schoolhouse Rock overview of the process for how a bill becomes law in Colorado. I do apologize that this is redundant. I know that many of you have probably heard this, 4 or 5 times now since I've been here. Nonetheless, I think it's helpful just to go over some of these key terms so we know that a law starts with a bill, and a bill is introduced by a sponsor. A sponsor could be either somebody from the House of Representatives or from the state Senate. And then typically when a bill gets introduced, it is then assigned to a committee. There are, I believe, around 12 committees for both the Senate and the House. Typically, most bills that we're looking at that impact District 6 go to the Education Committee, and then most, if not all of them, end up in the Appropriations Committee, which is money. Sometimes we see some bills in the Judiciary Committee. It just really depends on what the kind of focus of the bill is. But more often than not, bills will be assigned to the Senate Education Committee or to the House Education Committee. At the committee stage, that's really where bills go to live or die. Oftentimes at the committee stage, we'll be seeing heavy amendments at that time. This is where we really come in and provide amendments, provide suggestions to lawmakers about areas of the bill that we have concerns about or areas that we think could use some improvement. At that point, if the committee agrees, they can vote to uphold it or move the bill forward. They could refer it to another committee. Again, generally speaking, many bills go first to the Education Committee, then they get reassigned to the Appropriations Committee. Is typically how this process goes. Sometimes you'll hear me say the word that they killed the bill in committee. Kill just means that they did not vote the bill forward and that the bill is not going to move forward to the House as a whole, meaning that there's going to be, the bill will not become law. They also use the word postpone indefinitely. It's kind of a term of art that they use, which means that they're going to maybe look at the bill at a later date, or they're going to just postpone it at a later date. But postpone indefinitely essentially means the same thing as they're going to kill the bill. If the bill does pass the committee stage, then it goes to the committee of the whole, which could mean it would go to the full Senate or the full House, where they would vote on the bill again. They can make amendments at that stage. If at the second reading, so the first reading is the committee stage, the second reading goes in front of the House as a whole or the Senate as a whole. If that passes, then it would go to the third reading, and they would repeat that process again, and then they would move it over to another House. If it fails in the second or third committee of a whole stage, they would call that bill would be lost. They could also lay over the bill, which kind of in a way means postpone indefinitely. There can be conference committees. If the House, let's say a bill passes through the House committees, it goes through the second reading, it goes through the third reading, and then goes to the Senate, and then the Senate substantially revises the bill. There could be conference committees, or it could go back to the House for a readoption of those changes. But nonetheless, this is kind of a generic overview of how a bill were to go through to become law. And then ultimately, if it passes both houses, it passes the third reading in both houses, it would then go to the governor's desk, and then Governor Polis could either sign the bill into law or veto the bill. There are some bills that are called appropriations bills. These are typically bills that only last for 1 year. They're not permanent bills. So most bills make permanent changes to the law. Appropriations bills only make changes to the current year or current fiscal year. Oftentimes we will refer to the long bill in this district, and the long bill is the School Finance Act. The School Finance Act, you will hear me complain about, you will hear Dr. Pilch complain about. It takes forever to get through. Typically doesn't go in until the last few weeks of the General Assembly session, which to Ms. Sponsor's chagrin causes a lot of problems and difficulty in terms of setting the budget for the upcoming year. But nonetheless, again, I'm just kind of referring to these key terms because I will be using them throughout this General Assembly legislative session, so just so you're aware. And then sometimes they use a phrase called engrossed or re-engrossed, and I had some notes about that because I would just want to make sure I'm giving you accurate information here. Engrossed means the bill has passed the second reading in the House of Introduction, either amended or unamended, and then re-engrossed means the bill has passed the third reading in the House of Introduction, either amended or unamended. So sometimes you'll see a bill and it'll say engrossed on it, and that just means that it's gone through the second reading. Does that all make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for
Is there a
bearing with me
test?
here. There is a test at the end.
Okay.
I also want to talk about what lobbying is, and I'll just read this for you. Lobbying is defined as communicating directly or soliciting others to communicate with a covered official for the purpose of aiding in or influencing bills, fiscal impact statements, convening special sessions, drafting. We do have a lobbyist that we work with in this district. Her name is Ann Barkis. She works with the firm Barkis Mendez. It is a long-serving lobbying firm in Colorado. She works with numerous school districts in the state. She works with Denver Public Schools and Poudre District, I think are two districts that I'm aware of. Sometimes we do have competing interests with those districts, and when we do, she will let us know in advance, and then hopefully we can work with those other districts about our competing interests. If we come to a point where we're at an impasse, meaning we just can't agree to some terms, then she will separate herself from those particular issues or those particular bills, so that she's not engaging in something that would be a conflict of interest. But really, when it comes to lobbying, those are the 4 positions that we will take on a bill. We can support a bill outright, we can oppose a bill outright, we can just monitor a bill. I would say for most bills that we end up reviewing, we end up being in a monitoring stage, or we can be in a position of amendment, meaning that there are changes to the bill that we would like to make, and we can work closely with Ms. Barkas on any proposed amendments. I will say that taking a position of support or oppose is generally regarded as a fairly substantial or significant decision when a district takes a formal position of supporting or opposing a bill. So we just try to be really careful when we take real positions on bills. Nonetheless, as we're going through bills throughout the year, I will give you my recommendation on whether or not we should support or oppose a bill or take a different position. But most often we will take a position of monitor, and oftentimes that's the position that Ms. Barkas will recommend that we take, because sometimes we don't want to get too far into the political weeds about a bill if it might cause some type of controversy. So, any questions on that? Okay. So know your state legislators. These are the primary senators and representatives that do have some kind of related, if not direct, interest in Weld County or in Greeley Evans School District 6. So there are 3 state senators, Brian Pelton, Kevin Priola, and of course Barbara Kirkmeyer, who's very long-serving state senator. I also will mention that Kevin Priola, this is his last year as well. He's been serving this will be his 16th year as a state senator, so he'll be out the door after this year. And then we do have 5 state representatives that do have some interest in Weld County. And then, of course, Mary Young really oversees the Greeley Evans School District community as kind of her area of the state. And then just in terms of makeup of the current state legislator, of the General Assembly, I should say, there are 35 senators, 23 are Democrats, 12 are Republicans, and there are 65 state representatives, 46 are Democrats, and 19 are Republicans. So there really is a significant kind of difference in the political makeup of the current House and Senate in the state of Colorado, which I think either end of the extreme we go, it can certainly cause some problems in terms of the bills that we'll be seeing and what is introduced. So we certainly want to be monitoring bills this year, just kind of given the political makeup of the state right now. And of course, I will let you know kind of bills as they're coming forward if there are any concerns. But I just kind of wanted to let you be aware of what the current political makeup of the House is, and it is a pretty significant gap right now, as you can tell. So what's really on the horizon? What are kind of the big issues? As always, school finance is kind of the primary issue that we are always concerned about. We know that what the news is really saying right now is, thanks to the governor's budget proposal, Colorado school districts will finally be fully funded. You just pull up the news and type in school finance in the state of Colorado, and the words fully funded will be read throughout many news articles. I would say that's a bit of a misnomer. Fully funded means that they're finally planning to get rid of the budget stabilization factor this year. The budget stabilization factor has been used by the state legislators to essentially take money away from public education and use it to fund kind of other state agencies. This year, they're finally going to be getting rid of that budget stabilization factor, meaning that the money that should have been going to Colorado school districts is finally going to be going to Colorado school districts this year. That doesn't make up for the billions and billions and billions of dollars that have been withheld over the last 15 years since the state has said that they're going to fully fund public education. Nonetheless, that should provide some additional revenue for Colorado school districts, and certainly is a benefit. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but I just want to explain that the words fully funded is a bit of a misnomer. And so we'll be continuing to look at that. There is some conversations that are still happening around the at-risk factor, as well as the cost of living factor, and so we know that the school funding formula still needs a lot of work, and that will certainly be addressed throughout this legislative session and for future legislative sessions, I can imagine. Safety and security is always a big issue. Of course, student discipline is usually the primary area that a lot of folks are really looking to. I know that there will be some bills that will be trying to get rid of the use of seclusion rooms this year is kind of one area for students with disabilities, but also student discipline in general. Last year there was some pretty significant legislation around expulsions and expulsion hearing processes. That was one bill that we were able to kind of really dial back a lot of the original language that was intended from the first draft of last year's bill. I can anticipate that those changes are going to probably be brought forward again in terms of addressing student discipline in the state of Colorado. Student achievement, we know that accountability, the system of accountability does need some improvement. There is currently an accountability task force that is looking to revise the systems of accountability and accreditation in the state of Colorado. We can anticipate that in May, sometime in May this year, the accountability task force will provide their recommendations for moving forward. So we'll see if there's any legislation surrounding student achievement and changes to the accreditation system. But nonetheless, we know that the accountability task force will at least provide some recommendations that may lead to some legislative changes in the future. And then last, government transparency. Also, there will likely be some legislation that will be introduced to address the Colorado Open Records Act and giving some local agencies like school districts a little bit more flexibility in terms of timelines as well as fees for responding to open records requests. You know, I certainly work through open records requests often. I'm not sure if it's as big of an issue here in District 6, but I know that some school districts see thousands of open records requests every year, and it has become very much a burden for those school districts to respond to those open records requests. So we'll see kind of whether or not we want to take a position on any government transparency bills, but I just want to let you know that there will be some legislation that will be introduced to address this. So other than that, I'm not sure if the board or if any of you have any inklings about any legislation that's out there, if you've heard anything, or if there's anything that you want me to pay special attention to provide you with some advisement kind of moving forward. I welcome kind of your suggestions and comments. So that's it. If you have anything else you'd like to share, or if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take it. Yes, go ahead.
Do we have any progression on the one where we have to have, oh my goodness, it was the revamping of the website and all communication to parents and whatnot. Has that one been moved forward at all or not?
Yeah, so from what I understand, lawmakers do not want to make any changes to that law. They like it and they're not going to make any changes, but the rules that will be adopted by the Office of Information Technology will be adopted in February next month. And so right now they're going through those rules and the amendments to those rules, and those will be due sometime later this month. I will be speaking during the public comment section on January 23rd, and I can share the link to the board if you all want to watch me speak to the Office of Information Technology, if you want to take an exciting 15 minutes out of your day about the district's concerns surrounding complying with those rules. But I think really the primary focus for a lot of school districts, including this district, is an opportunity to cure. So if there is a violation on our website, giving districts 30 days to respond and fix the issue before somebody can just sue us, I think would be kind of the primary issue. Because right now it just says you can essentially just sue if there is any issue with the website. So we have created a committee. We're meeting monthly. We have subcommittees. We are working diligently to address the website accessibility issue, and we hope to be in compliance by July 1st of 2024. And hopefully the rules give us a little bit of leniency with that. But I appreciate you asking. That has certainly been in the front of my mind for the last couple of months. And Teresa Myers, our Chief of Communications, has also been working very diligently on this. And so it is concerning, but we are working on hopefully getting those rules to be a little bit more flexible for us.
Do send us that link.
Of course.
So we can watch it.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Fall? It's hard to have any questions at this point. It is good to see the elimination of the budget stabilization factor. Though, yeah, fully funded doesn't quite mean fully funded, but it is great to see it go away.
Yeah.
At least for this year, right?
Right. And that's the other thing is they can, get rid of it this year, but that doesn't mean they can't just put it back in next year. So, and with UPK, there's a lot of funding that is needed for universal preschool, and so kind of where they're going to get the money is anybody's guess. So, but it is a good thing that they're getting rid of that.
Any other questions? All right, Mr. Fall, we'll let you go.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We're now to our debrief of the work session. And so since we started this way, we'll start this way. Mr. Azari.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to all the staff members in the district that are obviously diligently working towards helping our students achieve graduation results that seem to be pretty positive and continuing to go in that trajectory. So kudos to all of those folks.
Yeah,
Mr. Bell?
same. It's just exciting to see percentage going down a little bit, the actual numbers going up, but you know, the math says we're still a growing district, which is something to be proud of also. So, and always thanks Nate for keeping us up to date. It's exciting stuff. But I think we have the trip to the Capitol coming up too, down the road too. So that was fun to see last year. So excited for that part of the year also. So.
Mr. Norwood?
Good as always to see the numbers, the graduation numbers. Hope they continue to increase, which it looks like they're going to. And a big thanks to the teachers that work their tails off every day to do that as well too. Thanks to Nate for keeping us updated. And just got to say that I didn't get a chance to make Caleb's award. I had family issues going on that day, but I coached him in baseball when he was 12. And I had him in DECA and in class at Northridge, so I'm not taking any credit, but just a little.
Like to.
He's a wonderful, wonderful person, and he deserves everything he gets. So,
Ms. Sullivan.
Not too much more to add. Thanks for the presentation for the graduation rates. I know that's a lot of data to thumb through on your end, but we appreciate getting all the feedback and whatnot. And Nate, thank you again for breaking stuff down for us at our level. But I do have to say, I'm quite impressed with the Schoolhouse Rock connotation or notation you made, because a bill is a bill. That is old. That's like my day and age in cartoons, so impressive. But thanks for your time as well.
Ms. Mash.
Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing the data and the progression, and I think, like you mentioned, from 2017 to 2023, we've seen just leaps and bounds, and it's in our mission and vision to provide an individualized experience, and I think we're really doing that, you know, as evidenced by some of those smaller student groups having so much success. So, and thank you for the update and the reminder of how bills work. I look forward to watching that play out. And don't forget that.
Natalie?
Well, as a senior, it's very cool just learning about all our graduation rates and knowing that class of 2024 is the largest class so far in the district. So I'm proud of all of us. I know looking back, freshman year was definitely a challenge for not just me, but like all of my classmates and friends, and it's like bittersweet knowing that it's coming to an end very close here in a couple months, but it was interesting learning about all of that, and I always enjoy the legislative updates. They're very interesting to hear, so thanks for that, but that's about it.
Thank you, Natalie. I don't have anything to add. Thank you, everyone, for a good meeting, and we're adjourned. We'll see everyone back at 6 o'clock for our business meeting.